Okay, well, we just had another fella answer a question here, or ask a question here, but I had to put the power bar on, right? So we're good to go now. I can do this for a few more minutes. It's kind of interesting. So, you know, this is very, very important stuff. This is one of the reasons why I started a nonprofit, you know, right? To give back and to make it better for the people around me, because it enhances my life like that wood box. It not only enhances my life, but it enhances my neighbor's life, right? When they walk by with their children, their children will see the rabbits, and you'll smell the lemon breeze when it starts blowing the wind and the plants get tall, and, you know, aesthetically looking at it will be very nice. It will be calming and relaxing, right? You know, that's why I started a nonprofit, right? Was to help, right? To be a part of the solution. Oh. So this is important. That's what I'm trying to say. This is important. You have to remember, when I started a nonprofit, I had a house. I was doing the stuff that I'm doing today, only I was younger and I had more energy. But I got disrupted from that when this government came in and started changing the rules and chopping people off at the knees, and I was one of the first ones on the freaking chopping block. Okay? I lost my house. With my 5 dependent children, I lost my house. I was in the house for 7 years. I built a playground. My playground was 25 feet by 25 feet full of gravel with a fort that was 10 feet high. You think about that. Plus, I had a garden and a dog den and a rabbit hutch.
Welcome. You know, actually, the member brings up a good point, and maybe it's all. And
then I went into a shanty shack. First, it was a bug-infested 2-bedroom apartment that was overflowing with full of mice, and I lived there for 2.5 months. And then I bounced into my shanty shack and inherited a little girl that I looked after for free for 3.5 years because her mother wasn't getting the services that she needed.
Or they are eligible for other MCFD services. It's not just that. But with CIHR, what it is either they gradually age out of the program, or if they go back to their family. That's another way that they would. But maybe another new connection with CIHR families to give them the choice of they could go into the other might be a good idea. But right now it's they had a choice of going in. They continue to have that choice if they'd like. They can't do both, but they can have either or maybe they're eligible for other programs.
Member.
To clarify, so if someone is caring for their grandchild and their child in the home of a relative now, and their child's 15, that can stay in place with no changes whatsoever?
Sorry, Chair. Just anxious. That is correct. Yeah.
Will it be a requirement that these CIHR homes now undergo criminal record checks for everyone over 19 and the other necessary checks?
Minister.
Thank you, Chair. And what the member opposite is speaking about is that in July of last year, there were 1,371 previously unscreened families in CIHR. They were asked to consent to screening by end of September. Most families have provided their consent, and of the 1,371 previously unscreened families, there are only 28 remaining families that have not. And they are still. We sent them a third and final letter to let them know that their benefits would end if they chose not to participate in the screening. But we've offered to explain the screening program, and I was very pleased to see how many have already gone through it, through the screening. So it's down to a remaining 28 families out of 1,371.
Member.
Will the families caring for their children under EFP be eligible for the same amount, more?
So I guess it all depends on how many bones you got in that bag in your closet, right? Rattle, rattle, rattle. Shit. Although there are some crazy people out there that probably shouldn't have kids, so I could understand why they'd want to screen families. you know, but again, with
Minister.
just the history
Thanks,
of
Chair. And,
the draconian
currently under,
legislation
CAHR
and
total monthly
policies and
amount,
the ruthlessness
after
behind
the child
following
tax
through
benefit
on those
is,
guidelines just makes you question the motive when it comes to social
And in
engineering.
the extended family program, it's 844 to 915. So it is more with the extended family program.
Member.
Can the minister explain the difference between the amounts received under EFP and under a restricted foster home agreement?
I'm telling my daughter all the time, just have the one, you know, let the one, just keep the one, don't have multiple children, life is too hard, the planet's getting polluted, people are going crazy, you know, just have the one. People need to start having less children and taking care of the ones that are here. You know, maybe one day she can have two, but right now she can have the one. And as for my other kids, you know, I tell them, you wait until you're 30, 25, 28, 30. And don't be thinking to be having kids at 20. Too many young people having kids, you know, that they can't afford, right? And it does put a burden on our social service systems, right? So, you know, it's not easy being a government, but at the end of the day, you're dealing with real people, real kids, and real lives, and there's got to be some concessions in there for that.
Minister.
Thanks very much, Chair, and through to the member. The restricted foster care, as I mentioned I'll go back to the extended family program. It's the total amount after the child tax benefit is 844 to 915, somewhere within there, up to there.
Assuming that it's not taken away from you dollar for dollar.
803 to approximately 909. And the difference there is the restricted foster care are not eligible for that child tax benefit.
Member.
So I just want to figure out if, in fact, the ministry expects that there will be fewer children receiving supports from family members or non-family caregivers with the elimination. Does the ministry project that the number of EFPs is going to equal the number of CIHRs on the average year? Or do we expect the gate to be somewhat closed tighter and fewer children getting financial assistance through their parent or their caregiver?
Well, they're going for getting blood out of a stone. They're going to squeeze every last drop they can find. I think the question has already been answered. BC has the track record of being the highest level of poverty for children in all of Canada, and we've been like that for the last several years, and we keep creeping up higher and higher and higher, and there's a reason for it. See? Forever to answer the question. if people can't afford to look after children and the children are being taken away from them because when they do try and do it in a one-bedroom apartment and they're losing their kids in a one-bedroom apartment, what is that telling you? Then obviously the numbers are going to get skewed, okay? They're going to get skewed in the favor of the ones that have the money, okay? The ones that don't have the money are going to be the ones that lose the kids. And then those kids will go into foster care or temporary this or temporary that. And those workers that adopt, that foster out those children, that get the, the financial support to raise those children under a ward of a state, right? Well, obviously will be financially rewarded, right? But the ones that, can't afford it, but don't qualify to be a foster parent for whatever reason, they're just, just another broken branch.
Minister.
Thanks very much, Chair, and through to the member. It's my understanding that the Child in the Home of a Relative was a long-standing income assistance program established, as you know, in the 1940s with little support for families. So that's why we are phasing it out. We're promoting
that's not true.
Out-of-care options.
It was minimal support, but it was
support
consistent support,
with their families.
and it was dependable.
Really what this is, it's children do better. So we are expecting EFP as a program to continue to grow as one of the options within the out-of-care options.
I'm very curious to know where this plan came from.
I know I'm running out of
Who
time.
wrote it? I'm running out of time. Did you hear him?
Some of the terminology.
He's being rushed.
A lot of terminology in MCFD. CIHR was an out-of-care option, but it was also a family option. It was the option that kept children with families. And my concern, I think, just to summarize,
and it was consistent. And it also placed children that, were coming out of teenage. I had a 16-year-old boy live with me when I had two children. I was young. I had a townhouse, and I had a room that was available. And he was not related to me, but he was registered as a child in the home of a family because of his age.
As they were.
And he lived with me for over a year and a half, and when I moved out of there, he was quite disappointed. But I couldn't take him with me, right, because I was moving into a different environment. But it gave him the stability that he needed at age 16 to build on his own life.
Regular visits and a number of other supports. How has the ministry contemplated or adjusted to the fact that their social workers' caseloads are going to increase because of this change?